Hello and welcome all to TEOI Spot Brand episodes with your host Preeyanka. The French Revolution, October Revolution, the American Revolution, and so many other revolutions in India you all would have heard till now. Ah, so wondering what am I going to talk on the very first episode of the podcast launched by TEOI? Yes, on the very first episode of TEOI Spot Brand, we have with us Miss Devina Kaur, who is founder of Sexy, Brilliant Global Revolution, a unique revolution on its own, and author of book Too Fat, Too Loud, Too Ambitious. Thank you so much, Devina ma'am, to come on the very first episode. I would like you to introduce yourself to the lovely audience listening us.
Thank you so much, Priyanka. This is so exciting, and hi to everybody who's tuning in. What a privilege to be here with all of you. And as I was getting ready for the show, and Priyanka and I were talking, I was telling Priyanka, I said, Priyanka, I'm so excited for you guys, but I'm also very nervous because I'm like a little bit intimidated by being the first guest. So, if I'm a little bit hesitant or something, please forgive me.
Oh, it's our privilege to have you on the very first episode, in fact.
Thank you so much. So sexy, brilliant global revolution. Wow, what an intro, Priyanka. Well done.
Thank you.
So, those of you who don't know Sexy Brilliant, don't know Devina Kaur, I'm actually somebody who struggled with a lot of mental health issues and a lot of addictions. And once my arranged marriage ended and I found myself single, and I was very ashamed of the fact that I was divorced and I was, like I had failed at the most important relationship of my life. So I found myself on dating applications looking for a man to save me. And for real, it's not something I'm proud of, but I'm not going to be ashamed of my past because our past is what creates us and our future. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. So when I was on these dating applications, all I wanted was to not be a shame and stigma to my family, my parents, my children. I wanted the protection, the care of a man. So during this time, I also went through um, a change, and we'll talk about that in a little bit about my career change. But so when I was on these dating applications, I would always say, somebody would ask me, how are you? It didn't matter that how fat I was. It didn't matter that I had like $5 in my bank account. It didn't matter that, I had like no food to feed the family. I would just stand in front of the mirror and I would call myself always sexy, always brilliant. And
Wow.
these words that, yeah, and these words that I was repeating was exactly what got translated into these messages that I was receiving from men when they would ask me, how are you? I would turn
Right.
around and say, always sexy, always brilliant. And this is where this nonprofit foundation to remove toxic shame, the very core of how it came around, Priyanka.
I am so glad, those two words, I am sexy, turned out to be a non-profitable organization. I mean, that's a wonderful word and the wonderful mission what you have introduced to this world. So
Thank
why
you
the
so
name
much.
of revolution as such? Why not something else? Why the revolution?
you know, Priyanka, that's a great question. And, like anybody who's ever lived in the startup world or created something new and unique, none of us know what we're doing. And this was very much the case with me.
Right.
I didn't know what I was doing. The journey literally started one day when I used to be work, I used to work, sorry, we're going to start that again. I used to be, wait, 1 second.
Yes.
Um, during my marriage, and you know, I worked in the banking industry for about 15 years. And then one day I was so dissatisfied with my job, my work. I was suicidal. At the same time, my marriage was breaking up. I decided to quit my very high paying banking job, and I ended up becoming a full time dog walker. Like
Oh,
literally, I quit everything and I was like, you know what? I don't want to, it's either staying in the job and killing myself, like literally, or it's taking my power back in my hands and doing what I want to do for the first time in my life, which is not what my husband's telling me, not what my parents are telling me, not what, you know, the family pressure is, the societal and the cultural pressure is, but I want to be able to take care of myself so that I'm healthy from the inside, I'm healthy from the outside. So I started going within, you know, with the animals, connection with nature, and and I was like, you know what? And of course, the dating was happening. Well, dating chats with a lot of people were happening, and I was like, you know what? I wonder if I'm going through this, if I, as a successful, powerful woman who's got everything in her life, um, I'm going through so much shame about being divorced, about being a single mother. And I wonder how many other people are going through the same thing. So the minute I put myself in other people's situation, I was like, you know what, this is true. But then I was like, okay, so now I understand what people are, their behaviors, their psychology. What about doing something that is going to, it's about me, but it's also about helping others. So that is why I decided, you know, the empowerment, the true empowerment starts from inside. You can have success is not measured by the kind of car you drive, the number of social media followers, your relationship status, whether you have children, you don't have children, how many countries you visit. In fact, success, true success, is measured by how you define it, and it starts from what's going on inside of you. So that is where this, you know, I decided to call it a global revolution. It was because it is about insight from each of us, and each of us is connected in this universe. Whether you live in India, you live in the US, you're white, you're black, you're brown, you're Hindu, you're Muslim, you're Sikh, it doesn't matter. We're all one, and we're all going through this human experience, but as spiritual beings.
right, right. So, when was the day when you started this revolution and how did this begin? What was the first step you took?
This is such a wonderful question, Priyanka, because you know, I've shared this story many times. Through my dog walking days, I met a client of mine who was, you know, he one day he we started talking, and I used to walk his dog, and he's like, "Oh, you know, you should come into my office." And I was like, "What do you do?" So he's like, "I'm a coach." I'm like, "What's a coach?" So
Right.
I had I had no idea what a coach is. You know, I didn't know at that time. So I said, okay. I thought about it. I went back home. I meditated on this, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, maybe go. You know, a coach. Okay, let's see what he has to say. So I ended up in his office for just a casual meeting, and he asked me, "How are you today?" So of course I said, "Always sexy, always brilliant."
Huh.
And he looked at me, and he's like, "Oh my god, please tell me you have that domain name sexybrilliant.com." So I was like, what? Get that domain name? So I come back home from my meeting,
Right.
and I'm like, I look for, you know, sexybrilliant.com. It's available. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I have no idea how to register a domain name or any such thing. But I figure it out, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get that domain name sexybrilliant.com. So I sat with that domain name. I bought it. I sat with it for about a year, didn't do anything with it, you know, literally forgot about it until one day, you know, as life happens, and I was like, oh yeah, you know, I was in between careers, I was in between changes. I had decided to move to Los Angeles, and you know, and I was like, okay, I forgot about sexybrilliant.com. Hollywood was happening for me. But then slowly I came back, and I was like, maybe, you know what, let's, instead of going back to another job, another, you know, an unknown place, what about like focusing on sexybrilliant.com? And that is where this journey started, Priyanka.
Okay. So, how do you help people with this revolution?
Sorry, Priyanka, I forgot the question, the last question you
Yeah.
asked.
So, I'm saying, how do you help people with this revolution?
So, Sexy Brilliant is a non-registered nonprofit foundation, and our mission is to remove toxic shame and raise human consciousness. And what do I mean by toxic shame? Toxic shame is about, mental health. It's about being a divorcing single mother. It's about being divorced. Even men struggle with that.
True.
And and in the culture that we live in India, we're often measured by the size of our body. So, for example, I'm a fat person. I'm a fat woman, and throughout my life, I always had this story that unless you lose weight, nobody's going to marry you. So
Right.
it became like, so if I'm fat, I'm unlovable. So that became my story. And I know many people go through this. Our culture is like that, right? It's part of the programming. So I was like, you know what? If I'm struggling through that, I wonder how many other people are struggling through that. So this is where, so our mission is about, giving people back their power, their inner wealth, so that they can find themselves, find their purpose, live in connection to their divine bodies, their divine souls, their spiritual purpose. And all of this happens because we want to help people get to know themselves, and which, by the way, is the next part that I'm going to talk about is the trademark KAUR process. And this is what our teachings are based on. This is what all my books are based on. Even my videos are the same. So what we do is we've designed a formula, again, with the help of a lot of professionals,
Right.
coaches, and mentors. And the K stands for knowledge. It's about knowing who you are. So
Right.
so often, so often, you know, we don't know who we are. We live in a world where, people are telling us how to behave, what to do, what kind of a career to get into. And it's kind of like we're never enough. So we want to help people come back to their connection of knowing who they are, knowing your good side, knowing your not so good side, and understanding that every part of you is beautiful and lovable. So that's the
Correct.
first part, the K of the KAUR. Then there's the A, which stands for acceptance. Once you know who you are, you then have to practice radical self acceptance. Acceptance of yourself leads to acceptance of others. So that's how we start creating a better world, by accepting ourselves, our good side, our not so good side, and loving all parts of ourselves. Because you know what, Priyanka? No part of you is your own enemy.
True.
So that's what we're all about, like about giving the tools, the tips for empowerment. We have courses as well, of course. So then we move on to the U of the KAUR, which stands for unlearning and unveiling. So unlearning all the programming, all the messages telling you that you are good, you are not good enough. The message is saying that, you know what, it is safe to be at a job. don't
Right.
don't don't even think about starting a business because it's so difficult. Or for somebody, my father is a retired IS officer, so I grew up with this. He said, you know what, becoming an IS officer is so difficult, you should just
Hmm.
focus on a good career of something else. So
Correct.
this is very disempowering, because you want to be encouraged for finding your own strength and your own values and your own purpose. So
Correct.
un- unlearning that programming so that you can connect with yourself, be authentic. Maybe you're not going to become an IS officer, but maybe you want to become a teacher. Whatever it is, you have to connect to yourself, know who you are, so that you can live in the spiritual, beautiful world that we can co-create.
True. True.
And then finally, the R stands for release, which is, think about it, Priyanka. Every time we go to the bathroom, we have a release. Every
Correct.
time we laugh, every time we have a laughter session, we're having a release. Even our tears are
A
a
form of
release.
release. Yes.
Yeah. So, once we know who we are, we accept every part of ourselves through the help of unlearning what we've been programmed all our lives, we can then start releasing our gifts to the world. And by
Correct.
releasing, it's whether you are having a podcast session like this, whether it is going in front of three friends and talking about, things that are empowering you, or whether it's going in front of, an audience and speaking on stage. Whatever it is, we always have to have the courage to share our gifts, i.e., the courage to shine in our sexiness and our brilliance.
True.
So this is what our mission is all about.
Wow, that core, you have given it such wonderful meaning to it. And I'm so excited, just to hear about the a different meaning what you have made it, you have turned it into a mission and a revolution. So in case if I am going through a social stigma or any emotional lowdowns, how do I approach you? Do we need, do any of us has to register somewhere? Where can we approach you?
So very quickly, actually, this is a great question, because very often I've thought about, how I can give back to my community, my people. So I actually studied as a coach. I've trained in India under Ashish Sehgal. You may know him,
Okay.
and but I am not a coach. I don't take one-on-one clients, because very quickly I realized that, you know. My brilliance is in speaking in public, doing a podcast like this, writing books, and being a full-time student of life. So, so when
I
somebody
love
comes
that.
to me,
Full-time student of life. Even I believe the similar
yeah,
same. We daily learn something and we daily fail and we daily pass.
yeah, we have to stay curious, right? So when
True.
somebody comes says they're looking to come to me, to reach me or approach me, I'm like, you know what? You are in fact my guru. So I am not a guru. I don't have that skills. So um what I would say is, so if anybody's curious about the mission, the Sexy Brilliance, please visit sexybrilliant.com. We've got lots of free resources, lots of free videos, lots of blogs that, those of you who like to read. I also have video series. I'm also on the radio and I host and produce a show. So, there's many ways of um, finding what I have written about and taught. But I would also say that, what, none of us actually okay, you know what, let's finish this question. Is it answered, Priyanka?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay, let's go to the next one. So just to finish that question, and I do encourage everybody to sign up on the sexybrilliant.com for our newsletters, so that you can stay in touch with what's going on. And of course, we also have a call for volunteers, and we are inviting stories from our community, so that you can tell us about, yourself, if you're struggling, whether it's mental health or addictions, or if you're a full-time single mother, or just anybody. If you want to reach out to us, please email us, please connect with us, and tell us that you heard the show on this, where you heard the show. Tell us that you like Priyanka as a host. I would love to hear that.
Right, right, right. That's wonderful. Like, the platform is so open. And I personally believe that, some input, some suggestions from such beautiful platforms, if anybody will get, of course, it depends upon us how fast we want to come out of any such emotional traumas or mental issues we deal with, or social stigmas. But such beautiful platform which you have created will uplift anyone, can give guidance and support to people who actually need it, basically. So, coming back to your book again, which is such an beautiful, which has such a beautiful title: Too Fat, Too Loud, Too Ambitious.
Priyanka, this is too fat, too loud, too ambitious. It's about the beauty of human beings. It's about, as the title says, can a person be too fat? Can a person be too loud? Can a woman be too ambitious? Can a person be too much of anything?
Correct.
So this is what the book is about. It's about that each of us is perfect as we are. And the goal is to get to the next level of perfection. And how does that happen? How do we, you know, mindfully get out of our own way? So, of course, the book has many tools. We've got lots of exercises. It's a spiritual self-help workbook. And, we want to encourage everybody to find their inner power, to find out who they are, and to connect to their divine self so that they have the spiritual confidence to do and achieve whatever they want in life. And the word spiritual confidence is about, it starts about knowing who you are, then accepting yourself so that, you're connected to all parts of yourself. And we want to have self love. Self knowledge, self acceptance leads to more self love. And this book is teaching you about more self love, about your connection to yourself. And it's also so much fun because there's this, even though this is a very serious podcast, Priyanka, but one of my daily goals is to laugh 100 times a day.
Oh, wow. That's absolutely. And most of us, we have forgotten, in fact, to laugh maybe once or twice a day. And you are aiming to laugh so many times. That's amazing. I think I should only start from tomorrow and keep a count that how many times am I laughing actually wholeheartedly. So
Well,
all the viewers, all the listeners, please take account from the moment we finish this podcast and ensure you laugh nothing less than 50 to 100 times a day. And it is not easy also, I would say.
well, when there's no easy or difficult in life. Everything just is.
Justice, yes.
Right? We, as the culture we come from, it's everything. We're such spiritual. We live in such a spiritual land, and we understand about karma. We understand about past lives. We understand that everything just is. There is no past, no present, no future. Everything is lived in this moment right now. So, again, connecting to the yogi side of yourself, connecting to that spiritual side of yourself. And if anybody tuning in, you've got a dream, you've got a vision, you've got some messages that are speaking to you at night in your dreams, even when you are taking a shower, for example. Know that this is your something is calling you, and whatever you're looking for is also looking for you.
True.
And the answers come through silence and stillness, through meditation, your prayers, your connection to yourself, by turning off the outside noise, and just going within. That's where sexy brilliance lies, Priyanka.
True, true, true. The combination of the sexy, brilliant global revolution and your beautiful book, Too Fat, Too Loud, Too Ambitious, both I think is not the need of an hour, but this will go forever and will be helpful to many forever and ever, because many a times we get lost, you know, finding our own self. Most of the time लोग क्या कहेंगे ये सोचते रहते हैं, लोगों के लिए करना है हम ये सोच के काम करते हैं. But I think connecting on both this platform of yours, a lot of people will get a lot of inputs and they will come back on the track and will shape up their life.
Well, as they say, when the student is ready, the teacher
The
arrives.
teacher arrives. Yes, yes,
So sometimes I'm a student, sometimes I'm a teacher, and vice versa. So we're all teachers, we're all students. It's about keeping that white belt mentality throughout our lives so that we can grow and evolve as human beings. And when we are full and whole from the inside, we can share that brilliance with the rest of the world.
right, right, right. Wonderful. So, did you found any different kind of situations or different kind of people approaching you specifically during this pandemic times? There was a shift in people's thinking, and of course, we keep talking about mental health, mental health. So did you found that people are in and out getting more disturbed during these times, and where you been able to help them out?
So, you know what we're going through right now? We're going through trauma at an individual level. We're going through trauma at a collective level, at a global level. And we're all going through. Some of us are in a yacht, some of us have a big ship, some of us are in a raft. But the fact of the matter is that we are all going through
Yeah.
this. So, I have always said this, and I encourage everybody to kind of do some research, look what the real agenda is, and understand that things are not how they look. So, for example, one of the things that I have done for the last, I would say, more than 20 years is I've not listened to the news. So,
Wow.
when, for example, and this started when 9/11 happened, and I was at university in Canada, and I saw this happen, and I was like, there's something not right about it. So again, listening to your intuition, when something says there's something not right about it, you're listening to your intuition. So everybody's purpose should be about constantly listening to their intuition. Our intuition keeps us safe, it gives us messages, and of course the more we listen to our intuition, the more messages we get. And that's how Sexy Brilliant Global Revolution happened, right? My success is based on my intuition. So
True.
again, connecting to yourself, in this moment. And I struggle with mental health issues too. There's always fear that something has happened, this virus, this nobody's left behind, right? But we
Right.
have to again go back and see that when we live in fear, our ability to think goes away. So we
Correct.
got to so we got to move away from that fear and live in abundance. And when we live in abundance, we attract more abundance, we can take better decisions, we can live in love, we can help other people. So do your research, listen to your intuition. If something is saying this is right, this is wrong, you know go there, follow that. And the like for me, um I'm not part of the mainstream, even though I work in the radio and everything. I'm not part of the mainstream. I just choose not to be. So, we always have that choice, and we as human beings, we are very, very powerful. Our intelligence is a gift as well, so we have to use that properly. And it's time to bring back common sense, nation.
Correct. 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 Talking to you for so many minutes, I got so much of insight on knowing my own self and so many takeaways. So I'm sure people who will follow you, who will read this book, who will be a part of the global revolution which you have started, will be benefited so much, will be helpful to them so much. So
I'm so glad.
I and all the audience and viewers will believe in what you believe. That is, we are not our bodies, but divine, sexy souls. And we should embrace, enhance, evaluate the positivity, power, and the passion in self rather than searching outside, which I think from the moment we started our conversation, um, what I got the message and what the listeners got the message is, we have to, search within ourselves and find our true self. So, where can you find you, ma'am? On which social media platforms you are available? How can we reach out to you?
Thank you, Priyanka. This was such a serious podcast for me, because usually when I do podcasts, I laugh so much and my host
Oh
laughs
my
so
God.
much. And so we have to do another podcast where we're having, a
Of
light
course,
conversation
of
also.
course. Yes.
I use all social media platforms. I'm on YouTube and LinkedIn, and of course Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. And my username is the Devina Kaur. Um, or you can just search for hashtag sexy brilliant. You'll find you'll
Yes,
find
I'm going to introduce that only. That please search as sexy, brilliant only. Those are the key important words.
Yeah, you'll find and of course, please sign up for our newsletter so that we can stay in touch. And it's such a pleasure to be here, Priyanka. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm glad, ma'am. We all are glad. So, to all the listeners out there, we all will be sharing all the links of ma'am. Please do like, follow, and subscribe on all the social media platforms. She is available too. Thank you so much, ma'am. It was really glad, and we are delighted to have such a wonderful, very pious, and pure conversation from you, and hoping to catch you soon again for another launch from TEOI. So, to all the listeners out there, stay connected for more such episodes from the team of TEOI's fresh new launch of podcasts. Thank you so much. Stay safe and stay connected. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.